Objects tell us stories about the past, and by studying and recreating them, they help build our knowledge about those who came before. Join us here at Pottsgrove Manor as we talk with skilled artisans who share what they have learned as they work in remaking the past.
My name is Sherri Saines, and I am a librarian at Ohio University. I'm a social sciences subject librarian. I'm also a wife, a mother, a dancer, a crafter, a poet, and church elder, and a lot of other roles. The research I do is about 18th century American women's caps, as opposed to bonnets, as opposed to hats, just the caps.
Tell us, is there an original piece that first sparked your interest in studying and making these pieces?
Yeah, I was looking for original examples, and there are not many that the museum has put in an online catalog. And the only one I found in America was at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. So I was going to Boston for a conference, and I thought, I wonder if I can go see that thing. So that's what got me started. The one that I could identify from the internet was what got me started. And I went and I saw this gorgeous little piece of art and just got hooked. It's a very small cap. It has, it's made of two pieces with a lace ruffle. And it has this gather that goes all around the back. And that becomes an important part of my investigation of what this cap actually is and who it was for over time. And I've remade this cap multiple times, and it's a fun little cap. And I learned a lot from it.
Is there something that really surprised you when you were studying an original object and it changed how you kind of fundamentally understood what you were looking at?
Yes. A good example, many things, but one good example is that we didn't know whether women had patterns for these caps. Every woman was making them, right? So how did she know how to cut it out? How to put it together, right? We know that women made them in their homes. We know they sometimes bought them at milliner shops, et cetera, et cetera. So if you make them in your home, do you have a pattern? Well, I was at the Chester County Historical Society, which has a very large collection of Quaker caps. Most of these caps are early 19th century, or probably right over the border into the 1800s. And I saw 28 Quaker caps. I looked at 28 Quaker caps on one day. And what I saw was that although from 2 steps away, they all look alike, if you look at how they're put together, they were all put together differently. So I think that kind of answers that question. Is like, no, they weren't passing around a pattern. They were looking at a cap on each other's head and thinking, ooh, I want one like that. How to put that one together? How would I put that together? And they went and figured it out themselves.
Really? And I mean, today people are so much, they want a cap pattern and stuff. But
right.
If you're going to be historical, it looks like you're going to be inspired and drafting your own. And I guess embrace any wonkiness that happens.
I think that women probably had a very basic understanding of how a cap was put together. And then they really just kind of made it up.
So you mentioned Chester County and the Boston Institute of Fine Art.
Yes.
What role do museums play in your research and study?
I am gratefully amazed that museums would keep something as small and inconsequential as a cap. Caps were, they were just little things. It's like an apron. You used it up, and you had several. And I don't think that anybody would have thought of their particular cap as important to the world. And yet museums have kept them. Thank you, museums. And and this allows us to do some primary research that show that it proves things like, did they have a pattern? I know museum curators have spent enormous amounts of time helping me, answering my emails, running to the cabinets to get things for me to look at, double checking on things I have questions about. And I really, really appreciate that as well. Also, that it seems they get it when you want to go see a thing. They understand that as a research process. And when they can, they facilitate it, which has just been such an exciting journey for me.
Big question. Can you take us through your process in researching and making an item?
Right. So finding the item was in itself its own journey, because, as I said, the only one I found in an online catalog was at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. And so then I used the Costume Society of America Guide to Historic Collections. And anytime it said they had a historic, they said they had 18th century items, I wrote to them and said, I'm doing this kind of research. I'm looking specifically, very, very specifically what I'm looking for. And do you have any of those? And almost all the time they wrote me back. Good for them, you know. And but only a very small number had any. In the end, I identified 12 museums that had caps that may or may not be 18th century. And those are the ones I went to visit. So I went and I saw the cap. I measured it, graphed it, examined it with loop, counted the stitches, turned it inside out if I was allowed to see how it was put together. And all of this, I made copious notes. I had a checklist. Make sure you get all these things down. I made copious notes. I bring the notes home. I double check them right now so I don't forget what I just saw. And then later I can go back and graft the pattern. And I've learned how to like graph a gather. You know, how do you know how big that piece is that's all gathered down into the cap? I figured that out over time, driving me crazy. Then I put it together. Then I go back and I test it against what I said the original was. Does it still the same measure? Does it still fit the bill? Where did I have problems? Then I take pictures of my repro and scans of all my work, and I send it back to the museum so that they can have that, all of that data that I gathered. Seems like a real simple way to say thank you, because they don't have time to take each individual item and examine it in that depth. So they're able to add that to their files and sometimes even their public information. And so that's the process. I think I identified 15 to 18th century caps. And that's a big deal, because when I started out, Sharon Bernstein helped me a lot. So thank you, Sharon. And when I started out, one of the main questions was, are there any extant actual 18th century caps? Really, are there any? And I think the answer is yes. And not many, but more than we expected.
What were some of the challenges you faced in studying these originals?
You can't do this work without going to see the actual item. They can, even the best photographs on a museum website don't show you the inside, and you can't get close enough to count the stitches. So you really do have to go and pick the thing up and look at it and turn it inside out and examine it very closely. So that was the I think the biggest challenge. And also being really adaptable. When you go to museums, you just never know what you're walking into. So I had the range of experiences. One time I had a pile of caps, and the volunteer who sat with me all day, God bless her, held a flashlight, because we had really no light where we were. It's like I was trying to count stitches by a flashlight. And then in another place, I was put in a room with several boxes of, gee, these are interesting, we don't know what they are. And they had floor to ceiling windows and sunlight, and, you know, and so just the vast experience. You have to really be adaptable and not complain. You just really can't complain, because people can only offer you what they have in terms of time and space and resources. So just be grateful they exist.
Do you have any suggestions for someone who's really interested in making a museum reproduction?
Yeah, get to the museum if you can. Yes. um, and the other thing I want to say is, as a librarian, and freedom of information is really important to me, is if you learn something, get it out there. Let us know. I'm a real strong believer in just put it out there. So I have a blog in which I have cataloged all of the caps I've seen and all of the reproductions I've done and the troubles I've had and what I discovered. And it's all out there. It's all free, and it will forever be free. And I wish everybody did that. So if you learn something, we share it, share it, share it. That would be the thing I would tell somebody who's interested and has a passion for this topic.
Do you have a specific story that you've run across that really sticks out in your mind as either a fun story or a bit of, just cool research moments in your cap journey?
I do. I want to tell you the story of the two little caps. So one is the Boston MFA cap, was the first cap, the cap that started it all. And the other is a cap from Winterthur that the story is that this is Mary Allsap's wedding cap. Okay. So Winterthur knows a lot about Mary Allsap. She was a well-known seamstress and embroiderer. They have a whole collection of her beautiful needlework, just exquisite needlework. And this is just one small example. And this one we don't know anything about. It was listed as a woman's cap, which is why I went to look at it, right? And in both cases, when I looked at them, the first thing I said was, oh, that's a baby cap. Look how small that is. Darn it. And then as time went on, I really wanted to decide whether they're baby caps or not. And this is what I decided. I decided that this one is a baby cap. And the distinguishing characteristic is that these threads pull up all the way across the back. That gather goes all the way down the lappets and makes this pretty little thing around your face. And then even after I had decided that that's what this was, years later, I found an example in a museum in Europe of a cap with the exact same construction that was labeled a baby cap. So I thought, ting, The other cap I have decided is indeed a woman's cap, as small as it is. And the reason I have decided that is that there's no place on this cap where there's a gather. It's probably the only cap I saw that had no gathers anywhere, which means that it was made for a particular size head, right? It was made to fit the head. Now, I wear a large hat. This is a really small head. And I have had two people with super small heads put it on, and it looks like one of those caps that you pile your hair up and then the cap just sits on top of your hair. It doesn't look like any other style of cap I saw. I mean, it has lappets, but they're made completely differently. And so I really think that, I don't know if it was her wedding cap or not, but I really think it was a cap that somebody made specifically for themselves. It fit a particular, probably even a hairdo, right? That it was going to fit on and do exactly what you would do for your wedding, right? You would particular cap for the hairdo. I did that, didn't you? Hat fit the hairdo, fit the wedding, right? So she might have done that. So I have determined these two caps that are the same size. My decision is this one's a baby cap and this one's an adult cap.
That was a really fun story, but is this the best part of what you've encountered in your research? Or is there another part that really stands out as just that kind of great thing you're excited about whenever you get to go and see a cap?
My husband has been with me on most of my travels, and he jokes about how I come out with my eyes aglaze with a history high. Because I just, I touched this thing that is so old that somebody else cared about and made with their own hands. And not everybody gets to touch it. Maybe nobody's touched it in years since they put it in that drawer. And I get it out and I try to make sense of it. And I think about the people who made it. And I wonder why it survived. So did it survive because it was that woman's ugliest cap and she never wore it and it's at the bottom of the drawer? Or did it survive because it belonged to her sister who died? Or did it survive because it really was her wedding cap and had this deep emotional connection? Why did it, and yeah, so I get this history high of playing with artifacts.